Hey, what's going on, guys? You may remember a long time ago I made a post on my YouTube community tab asking you to ask questions to me, and I never got around to answering your guys' questions, so sorry about that. So let me go back to the post here, and oh my god, it was almost a year ago. So yeah, chances are a lot of you guys maybe don't even remember this post, but a lot of you did leave your questions for me, so thank you for that. Today, in this video, we're going to get to answering some of your questions, and this is going to be part 1. There is going to be a part 2 because there's a lot of questions. And while we're doing that, we're also going to enjoy some snacks. And that's right, so today's video is being sponsored by Tokyo Treats. They're a Japanese snack subscription box where you can get up to 20 snacks in the box. They're very full, packed with the latest, most exclusive, limited edition, seasonal flavored Japanese snacks. This is for the most part stuff that's only available for a limited time there, like Sakura Pepsi, Japanese sake Kit Kats. And so I'm really happy to partner with them, as the folks at Tokyo Treat just want to share the Japanese culture with the world through the medium of snacking. And so if you guys enjoy snacks and you also enjoy Japanese culture, this is a really great way to combine the two of those interests into one box as a monthly subscription service. But also available is the Sakuraco box, and we'll save this one for part 2 of this video. But Sakuraco is also a monthly subscription box where you'll receive more traditional and authentic, like Japanese artisan snacks. This will include stuff like Japanese tea, and you get a piece of tableware in every box as well, which is really cool. They partner with local Japanese snack makers to share Japanese culture and traditions that have been passed down through the years. So it's also a really good option, and again, this month, a really beautiful box. So that one we'll save for part 2. We'll get into your guys' questions in just a second, but I just want to first go ahead and open the box, show you guys all the contents of everything, and then we'll try some of the snacks out while we answer some of the questions. Alright guys, design-wise, looks like it's the same as the box we had last month, so I don't think that the design changes month to month, but it is still very large, very heavy. I put this on the scale. It came out to 3.25 pounds, so it's quite hefty. Let's go ahead and open it up here. Alright, so we got the Bite into Japan artwork up there at the top. Down here, the Summer Matsuri is going to be our theme for this month's box. Summer Matsuri, or Natsu Matsuri, is just the summer festival. Matsuri is festival, for those of you guys who don't know. Japan has all sorts of different festivals, and the summer festival, of course, like every other festival, has certain foods and drinks and stuff that go along with that. So if you guys saw my videos on the past couple boxes, the Tokyo Treat box and the Sakuraco box, the guidebook that comes with these boxes is honestly one of my favorite parts about these, so you get a ton of really awesome information in here. First page to give you an overview as to what's all included in this box, and then just kind of a brief explanation as to what a matsuri is, like I just explained, and then some information just about some cultural things that go on time for a summer festival, so you can see some of the different events and culture, like over here, couples wearing yukatas, not necessarily even couples, just people in general wearing yukatas, which is a type of similar like a kimono, but sort of like a less formal version of that. Anyway, I'm sure a lot of you guys know plenty about Japanese culture, or if you don't, again, this is a really great just introduction to some basic information about Japanese culture. And then we get into some of the information about the stuff that's included in here. Looks like one of the festival classics is a ringo ame, or candy apple, which I love. And we got some apple pie. It looks like one of the breads is gonna be a Kobo apple pie. This is the type of bread that's really good for like breakfast. If you guys don't like eating like typical breakfast foods, if you're like traveling in Japan, different breads and stuff like this that you can get from shops make for a really good breakfast. There's paki in there, of course. Looks like it's salty vanilla flavor. That's certainly a unique one. That'll be really good, I'm sure. Chocoto soft marshmallow candy. Kit Kat, as always, there's a different type of Kit Kat in every box. As far as I know, this time it's cookies and cream Kit Kat. Very good. I really liked the pudding Kit Kat in the last one though. I don't know if this can beat that, but I do really like cookies and cream. Ramune, of course, you guys may be familiar if you watch anime or if you've ever been to any Japanese like markets or anything, or been to Japan, of course. These ramune sodas are very famous, of course, very Japanese with like the marble in the top. So to go with that theme, it looks like we got some bubble soda, ramune candy, and some sherbet pero cider. So this looks sort of similar to like Fun Dip, a popular candy we have in America, where you just take the lollipop and you dip it in like a sugar packet. I guess that's maybe included with that. So we'll try out everything in this as we go through today's video, answering your guys' questions, but really awesome book here with tons of information. Land of the Rising Lemon. So I guess there's also a lemon theme. That makes sense. For summer, lemon, very fresh, refreshing taste. It looks like we have some lemon flavored snack. And also the drink included this time is a premium lemon Fanta, which I think will probably be really good. So I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be a good one. Got some yakisoba snacks. I love yakisoba. UFO Strong Dashi Yakisoba. That'll be really good as well. And of course, street food, if you're gonna be out, especially during warmer time, even during cold weather, you can still find street food around, but street food, always good. More stuff about Summer's Romantic Festival, Tanabata. I've never heard of that, but that looks really cool. It looks amazing. And lastly, photo contest. Looks like if you take a photo and share it on social media, you can win one of these awesome Sailor Moon merchandise there. So very cool. Really love these books and a ton of information in there, as you can see. But let's now dig into the box right off the bat. There's our Kit Kats. And as you can see, it's a big package, so it's not like one Kit Kat. It's a package of, I believe there's 10 of them in here or something. 11 mini Kit Kats, 11 of them in there. Here's the lemon snack, which is quite a big bag as well. This one, I guess, is the surprise pack. So it looks like one of the items in your box is going to be a surprise. One of these featured here, and you can scan this to get some information as to which one you've got. Looks like mine here is matcha cream daifuku. So like a green tea cream, seems like a soft kind of snack. It looks really good, actually. Got our apple pie snack, the ice cream snack, candy, snacks, 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 candy, snacks, snacks, ramen that you can just add hot water, cook that up for some yakisoba, very nice, and the drink. Alright guys, so now that you've seen everything, let's get into it. And if you saw my last video last month where I took a look at the previous box, number one, it was awesome and I really enjoyed it. I ate a couple of the snacks on camera and the rest I took home and shared with my wife and kids. But today I'm going to be a little bit more greedy and actually attempt to eat all of these in today's video. So we'll actually try them all and try to attempt to finish all of them in today's video. But to be fair to myself, it was actually my wife's idea to do this, not mine. Let's try this one first. Yaokin Fugashi. This one I guess is like a cracker with molasses and Okinawan brown sugar. I've got the guide here handy so I can check all the details of everything. I gotta say, it doesn't look appetizing on the surface, but I'm sure it's gonna taste good. Interesting. It sounded a lot more delicious than it is. I gotta say, I don't know if I really like it that much. I would definitely eat a box of them, but it wouldn't be my first choice necessarily. Let's get to the question here. Pisces asked, Ellen Kshatriya Parts 2. So if you guys don't know what he's talking about, the work in progress on the Ellen Kshatriya kit was something that would be like one of my very first videos I ever posted. People have asked me about this kit over the years. Did I ever finish it? Am I interested in selling it? Because it's a kit that a lot of people are after and have been after for a long time. But in all honesty, guys, the last time you guys saw it in Work in Progress 1 video, nothing has changed since then. I guess the only thing that has changed is that I've taken all the parts, which if you guys remember were like in trays, and I've separated them all out of the trays and bagged them into just plastic zipper bags. So I put all the parts for one arm into a bag and all the parts for one leg into a bag, and I separated them all out like that. So at least later when I do go to finish the kit, it'll be easier. I don't have to spend time sorting through the trays of parts, which was terrible. Alright, so that was a pretty interesting flavor. I think we're gonna go with another one of these small ones before we crack open one of the bigger snacks. This one is the Chocoto Soft Marshmallow Candy. This one's basically an ice cream snack, because ice cream is popular in summertime pretty much anywhere. It's basically an ice cream cone with like candy, and it's like a marshmallow, basically like a marshmallow. Imagine like a peep inside of an ice cream cone. And chocolate on the inside. Bootleg Figures asked, most complicated RG and MG kit to build. I was thinking about this a little bit, and I think it's actually an easy one to answer because it's probably the same answer for both, and you guys may disagree or agree, but I would say probably the Full Armor Unicorn Gundam, or an MG. The Full Armor Unicorn Gundam, probably one of the more complex ones to build, more complicated, but I guess like technically I would actually put the MGEX Unicorn above that. Depends if you want to include MGEX or not, but if we're excluding that, then the Full Armor Unicorn or something like the Sazabi Verka or the Psycho Zaku, one of those just more very parts heavy kits, would be one of the ones that are more complicated. As far as RG kits go, the RG Full Armor Unicorn is a good bet just because, again, it's super parts heavy, it has all the transformation gimmick and everything inside, so that's probably the most complicated one. Ari asks, what's the absolute total kits you have ever built, including custom paint jobs and mods and stuff like that? Well, that's actually kind of two separate questions in one. So total kits I've ever built, it depends on if you're talking about just snap built or like built as in like fully painted like to completion. That would be like a completed build in my mind is something that I've actually painted and everything. of which there's far fewer. Of course, like the number of kits that I've just snap built is like up here. The number of kits that I've painted is like here in comparison. But even the ones just like trying to count up all the kits that I've painted, I think I would have a very hard time just trying to estimate that number in my head. I would say maybe around 50. I don't know, that could be very off. I don't know, I could just look at my playlist. I have a YouTube playlist, if you guys don't know, videos of all my completed builds, so you can check that out if you're interested, but somewhere around there I figure is probably right. And the number of kits that I've just built, I would say it's gotta be 1,000 or more. I don't know, around there, maybe. I don't know, something like that. I have no idea, and honestly, I don't think I want to know because the number would probably depress me. All right, a little bit thirsty after that one, so why don't we try out the Premium Lemon Fanta, which is not cold, unfortunately. I should have put it in the refrigerator for a while. It's definitely still carbonated. Lemon, pretty safe flavor. I don't think we're really in for too much of a surprise with this one, like with the caramel butter popcorn last month, but it is very lemony, I'll say. It's not like, it's like lemonade basically, but it's quite a strong lemon flavor for sure. Premier, I was saying premium, wasn't I? Premier lemon, I guess it's just because it's extra lemony. All right, next question here. Negamomo asked, how are you? I feel like that's a very different answer probably now compared to when he asked this question almost a year ago. I mean, just a complete, very big changes happened in a year, so moved to the other side of the world and all that. Well, I guess that's kind of the main change. Anyway, just taking the question kind of as is at the moment, I would say I'm pretty good, I'm doing what I love, and I'm enjoying some awesome snacks, so I can't really complain. With that, I'm gonna try some yakisoba taro here, which is a pretty small package. It definitely, well, I guess in the book, I guess maybe it looks kind of small. I wasn't expecting it to be this small, but you know, I think with this one, what it's going to make up for in size is going to be flavor. As if you guys have ever had, it's basically like a dried ramen snack, and there's a bunch of different kinds of that where it's like ramen, instant ramen noodles, and they're just like crushed up with seasoning on it, essentially. This one I think I can probably down in one bite, but let's take another question here first. Anthony asks a quite specific question here. Do you use hobby base roll swing joints to improve articulation? I feel like Anthony probably has been watching Vegeta 8259's or Henry's YouTube videos, because I'm pretty sure I've seen him use those, and that's probably the reason why I own a set of these, is probably because I got the idea off of Henry. But actually, no, I don't use them. I don't think I've ever used them. I have a set, which is just like a little runner with the joint parts that you can use for scratch building or customizing your kits to add joints, where usually they're for like adding joints to resin kits that don't have joints. You can use them also to just like improve the articulation of old kits. But that said, I don't think I've ever used any. Very crunchy, of course, and interestingly, I guess shouldn't be all that surprising, but tastes exactly like yakisoba. Wow, that's amazing, actually, kind of how close they got that flavor. It's exactly like yakisoba. Roberto wants to know if there's more episodes coming in the future of Old to Gold, the series that I did. Well, obviously it's been almost a year and there hasn't been any new episodes, but that doesn't mean there aren't any more coming. It's definitely a series that I will surely do more of in the future. It's not something that I have any plans on doing in the near future, but as soon as I'm able, it's definitely a series that I will do. Again, Old to Gold. Let's try one of these matcha cream daifukus, because there's a few of these in the package, and it looks really good. It's sort of like a mochi, basically, kind of. There's these individually packed, and it looks like there's 8 of them in the package here. Purporium asked, do you like bananas? I feel like that'd be a really good question if we had any banana snacks in here. I could then say, I've got this banana snack. I like bananas, but unfortunately nothing banana flavored this month. But I do like bananas, yes. I don't eat them. We usually always have bananas at home, but they're usually my kids always eating them. I usually am not cracking one open, but yeah, on the occasion, yeah, I'll eat a banana. It's good. As for this cream matcha daifuku, let's go ahead and try this out. It's basically like green tea paste, sweet, filled, and like mochi. Really good. And I don't actually really like matcha or green tea flavor stuff that much, but this one is really good. It's just sweet, basically. Actually gonna have another one of those while we take Ivan's question. He said, have you had to keep an eye out? I'm sorry, if you had to keep only one kit in your collection, which one would it be? I personally would keep my Nobel with Barbatos's head. That sounds like an interesting combination. Which one would I keep from my collection? That is a really good question. If I could only keep one, that's asking me to choose one out of hundreds. Again, probably more than 1,000 kits. I don't know. It's quite a lot of kits. If I could only keep one, I don't know. I feel like the answer a lot of people would go to would be like the biggest, most expensive kit in their collection, but I don't know necessarily if that would be the case. For me, I would say, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw something out there because it's really impossible for me to choose, but I would just say maybe the Mega Size Unicorn kit. I don't know, just because it's one that is not that easy to find. It comes, I mean, you can find one maybe from time to time, and I'm sure it'll be reprinted eventually, so you'll be able to get one again later. But it's a kit that I have a plan to work on, and it's something that I feel like I could spend a good amount of time working on it. But I don't know, there's a lot of really good options that you could basically, I mean, you could spend a ton of time working on a small kit as well too, so I don't know. Alright, let's try out this big bag of Satoshi Lemon Salt Senbei. So like lemon salt flavored crisps, essentially. Fairly big bag, but you know, in typical potato chip bag fashion, it feels, you know, roughly half full, but a little bit better than American ones, really, to be honest. Not really much lemon flavor going on there. I guess if I eat this while drinking this, it'll help kind of bring out the lemon flavor, but I feel like basically it just kind of tastes like a kind of normal crisp with a very slight, little zest of lemon. I feel like these would be really good snacks with like really cold beer. Actually, like if you're outside at a picnic or something, some cold beer, and these snacks would be good, definitely. Daniel wants to know my predictions on the next PG Gundam, Verka, and MGEX. Well, the next MGEX I'm predicting is going to be the Strike Freedom. The next Verka I'm predicting is going to be... Actually, the Strike Freedom obviously is coming out as the next MGEX. After that, if we're talking about the next MGEX, after that, I don't know what it might be, but I'm going to just say let's go with the Zeta Gundam, because they could make it as like a transforming kit. That also, though, would be a good option for the Verka, or like a 2.0 Perfect Grade, like a Perfect Grade Unleashed Zeta Gundam. So I mean, let's just say Zeta Gundam, because that could work for all three of those categories as either a new Perfect Grade, a new Verka, or a new MGEX. I think it honestly could be a good fit for any of those. Personally, not that much of a big fan of the Zeta Gundam, so it wouldn't be something I would be super jazzed about. But I think it would be a good fit, and I'm sure it would be a fun, awesome kit. Let's try mini ramune candy in this container, which is like similar to like medicine pills. It's something that they have over there in Japan and in Korea too, I know. It's like kids candy that's in like a pill type container. I don't know if they have anything like this in America. I feel like they probably wouldn't, because they wouldn't want kids to get confused and then like end up eating their parents' pills or something by accident. I feel like it's the same thing like with the sake juice boxes. I'm gonna go ahead and pop a few of these because they're so tiny. I feel like just eating one's not really giving me a good experience. All that cracking that you're hearing is not like a carbonation in the candy or anything like that. Immediate taste tastes like bubblegum. So chewing it, I feel like it's that kind of candy where it's like gonna turn into bubblegum as you're chewing it, but it's not doing that. It does have a little bit of like that soda taste, but it's like, yeah, it just tastes like soda flavored bubblegum, but it's not gum, it's just candy. Next question from What Is Not. He said, do you think that Bandai Sunrise is really going to build a fully operational mobile suit and use it in the army and revolutionize the weapons of war in the future? I'm not talking about the ones in Yokohama. Well, short answer is no, definitely not, because I just don't think that, even if like the Japanese government wanted to make that, it wouldn't be something that Bandai Sunrise would make, obviously, but let's say someone in the Japanese government wanted to make something like a Gundam type mobile suit kind of thing that could be used like in actual combat. I just don't think that that would ever be cost effective. If you look at like how much like a tank or a jet costs like countries to produce and to use in war for like their usability, I mean, I don't know what the ratio is on that for like how much value like assessed that you get out of how much it costs to produce one of those things. Just the cost of producing one mobile suit, it just seems like it would be so high that it just wouldn't be worth it at all, like compared to just other weapons that we already have. But I don't know, who knows what the future holds, but I just don't think that that's something that would ever actually happen. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish off this candy because he had another couple of questions here. He asked, what do you do besides making videos? Do you own any business or a workshop that's not related to Gunpla? Well, I don't own any business or workshop or anything like that, but what do I do aside from making videos? Basically just spend time with my family, whether that be just playing, shopping, traveling, whatever I'm doing with my family, or just relaxing at home. I know most of you maybe know, or maybe not all of you know, that I have a wife and 2 kids. My kids are young, so they just like to play. It's not like when your kids are older, if they're like teenagers or something, they just wanted to go off and do their own thing, so like then I could do other hobbies, but they're still at the young age where if I'm at home and not like busy doing something like chores or something, then I'm basically spending time with them. So I'm sure a lot of you guys who are also parents out there totally understand that. It definitely limits your time to enjoy the hobby, but that's why I'm very blessed to be able to do this as my 9-to-5 job. His other question is, do you ever build any type of mobile suit that is not released by Bandai? Anyone you made from scratch or from the ground up? Well, again, the second part of your question is easier to answer because the quick answer is just no, I've never made anything from scratch or from the ground up. But do I ever build anything, any of their mecha or mobile suits other than what's released by Bandai? Of course. The big one, of course, would be Kotobukiya, but then I also really enjoy the Maschinen Krieger suits and the ships and everything, just Maschinen Krieger kits. Although not mobile suits, I guess the Mecha Musume kits are just other types of kits. But I mean, you guys know, watching the channel, that I like to build all sorts of different things other than just mobile suits released by Bandai. And his last question here, while I load up the Ponkome rice snack, is, have you ever looked into any other type plastic model kits like cars or army transportation? Not too much, just because I'm just not really as interested in that. That said, I did purchase a tank model kit and a Honda motorcycle model kit that are both over there in my queue to be built, and a dinosaur model kit. So those are all kind of very different things that I just wanted to try out, other than the typical model kits that I normally build. Those are all over there in my queue to be built, so they'll all be built in the relatively near future. This rice bar looks, pretty basic. It's basically like puffed rice. So I was expecting this to just be sweet, but it's actually sweet and salty. It says it's got soy sauce, sugar, sea salt, and sweet potato, which I know sweet potato is one of those things that people eat regularly in the East, but I feel like sweet potato in the West, or at least in America, people either kind of love it or hate it. It's not a thing that is widely enjoyed by a lot of people, I feel like. I don't know, I could be wrong on that. That could just be my perception of it, but I love sweet potato, so I really like this. That's one of the many flavors that's going on in this, but it's really super good. Gray has a good question here. He asked, how did you become sponsored and closely affiliated with USA Gundam Store, especially since you're outside the US? Well, even though I was physically outside the US at that time, I was living in Korea previously, but just based off my YouTube analytics, I can see that most of the people watching, most of you guys all live in the US. So I was working with a sponsor previously before that who was not located in the US. And when my time working with them ended, I figured, well, most of the people who watch my channel live in the US, so it would kind of make more sense to work with a company that's located in the US that can benefit more from the deal of our kind of promotion, our working together, our cooperation. But since I was living outside of the US at that time, when I was kind of then thinking about this, I didn't really know which stores were good or which ones had good reputations or which ones people might like or dislike or which ones people might have good or bad opinions of. So I basically asked you guys in a post, I think on Facebook, I posted, which shops do you guys recommend in the US? And a lot of people recommended USA Gundam Store, which was still relatively new at the time. Certainly smaller than what it's grown to today. But yeah, I just reached out to Adam and he was willing to sponsor me, and it just kind of went from there. So it was just kind of your typical sponsorship at first, just kind of he would basically take care of the cost of the kits for me, and then I would make my reviews and whatever, promote the company. And then about 2 years ago is when I started actually working for the company full time. So it's been really great. It's allowed me to, do what I love to do, and it's allowed me to do what I can to help promote the growth of the company as well. So it kind of works out really well for both of us. And that was a really good snack. Gojira fan asked, which kit is coming out first, HG Shenlong or the HG Death Scythe Hell? I feel like, unfortunately, at this point, it's kind of spoiled, as I can already obviously answer that. The Shenlong is, of course, coming first, but I do feel like it is very likely we will see an HD Death Scythe Hell coming out in the near future after the Shenlong. Whether it be immediately after, like later this year or next year, I'm not sure, but I feel like it is very likely we will see a HD Death Scythe Hell at least within the next couple of years. Let's go ahead and try out the Full Moon Pan, a salted cracker. This one is made with natural oils and salts from Okinawa. I have actually been to Okinawa before and had a wonderful time there. It's a beautiful island and awesome place. It's actually the only time that I've ever driven a car in Japan, which was very nerve-wracking for like the first 2 days, but then after that it was totally fine. But Gojira fan had another question here. He asked, when is your next contest? So the next contest, we have a contest currently ongoing here at USA Gundam Store, which is an art contest for you guys to design the clear file artwork for us to use for the clear files that we give away in all the packages that we sent out when we do those. So we sometimes give away stickers, sometimes give away clear files. So just the kind of things that we just put into the orders that we sent out from here. So that's the current contest, and all the information on that current contest is on the USA Gundam Store website. The link will be down in the video description below. You guys can check that out. You have till around the end of the month to design some artwork for that if you're interested. You can win cash. But the next contest after that will be starting up probably then shortly afterwards in the middle of July. I would say would be the next contest after that, and it will be back to another like typical building contest. Interesting, really interesting one. Very cute and adorable snack, this one. Kind of plain in comparison to some of the other ones, but I feel like it does feel like very Okinawan, if that makes sense. I don't know. It does feel a little bit more like traditional Japanese, where like a lot of the more modern snacks are just kind of westernized a bit by being like super salty or super flavorful. I feel like this little bit more kind of toned down one, and I can really taste that natural oil, as it mentioned in there. It really has that taste in it. So this one definitely does have like a little bit more traditional Japanese taste to it, so which is really nice. Raphael asked, will you ever do a collection reveal? Like a tour of all the kits you have built and the stories behind them? Well, if I ever did anything like that, it wouldn't be like going through all the kits I've built and stories behind them, because there's just way too many of them. And I don't even think I would ever do a full like collection reveal, just because I don't like have a display case where I have all the Gundams that I've ever, and like all the kits that I've ever built in like a display. I don't have any sort of display case at all. I don't have any of the stuff that I built on display anywhere currently. So basically what it would be is just looking at a wall of boxes. And so the kits that I've not built, obviously still in the box, and the kits that I have built, usually it just end up going back into their box, or like combined. They'll put take 4 Bandai HG kits and throw away the boxes of 3 of them and just put the kits and all the contents like into a plastic bag, and then put like the contents of 4 boxes into just one single box as just a way to save space, basically. All right, guys, I think it's Kit Kat time. I've been saving these because I'm really going to enjoy them, I'm sure. These are, of course, our cookies and cream Kit Kats, which are probably a little bit half melted now. They've been sitting here in my hot lights, but yeah, it's okay. Anyway, very good. Kit Kat, man, never wrong. I feel like, even though I know they give Kit Kats in every box, and it's usually a different kind of Kit Kat every month, and in Japan somehow they have a million different flavors of Kit Kats, so I just don't think that there could ever be a flavor of Kit Kat that wouldn't be good, though. Like, they would always just be good. Xavi asked, is there any way to get old, hard-to-find P Bandai kits outside of Japan for reasonable prices? Well, unfortunately, probably not. Especially if they're old, hard to find, that means it's guaranteed to be expensive, even in Japan. So you may think that, you know, even like if you were actually in Japan, you would be able to find kits like this for a reasonable price, and reasonable is very subjective because even for like, if it's an older, hard to find premium Bandai kit, even in Japan is going to be costly. So I mean, it could be like an HG, for example, selling for, you know, $70, $80, something like that. Again, just depending on exactly how old, exactly how hard to find the kit is. And you may think, well, that's not all that bad if it's like a kit that over here in like other parts of the world you would probably end up having to pay, if you could find one, you know, over $100, $120, $130, $150, which is an insane amount to pay for any HG kit. I mean, like for like just a P Bandai, you know, small HG kit where like the normal version costs you around $20 to $30. don't ever pay like $150 for a P. Bandai version of a kit like that. Yeah, even in Japan, stuff like that would be expensive. But any good place, if any, I mean, like the best place to look would be probably Mandarake online or AmiAmi. Stores like that that are like Japanese stores, so you can get it from Japan. So the shipping will be more expensive, but you can find the kit, if you can find it, at a fairly good price. And it's all subjective. I mean, so either you get the kit from Japan where the price of the kit is cheaper but expensive shipping, or you get it just for an expensive base price and cheaper shipping here in the US, for example. Either way, you're going to be spending around the same amount of money. Let's try out some salty vanilla Pocky. Pocky, do you guys say Pocky or Pocky? I don't know. After living for a long time in Korea, I'm just used to Pepero, which is the Korean version of it. But anyway, just, you know, it's typical Pocky here. The salted vanilla sounds wonderful. I'm gonna double up on my sticks. But this is really nice. And comes with 2 bags in the box. So it's 1 box with 2 separate containers in there. Raphael asked a very fitting question for this video. What is your workout routine? Something that I will probably need to figure out after the making of this video and part 2. But no, in all actuality, I have been putting on a lot of weight after moving. I think it's just the whole process of, you know, moving your family of 4 from one country to a completely other country on the other side of the world is stressful. And I've definitely been stress eating, and not only that's like that, and that's amplified by the fact that just here in America, just a lot of the food here is just less healthy than what I'm used to in Korea. So it's definitely been not doing any favors for my body. So I definitely do need to figure out a workout routine. Right now I have none, and I'm enjoying snacks. But ideally what I would like to do is ride a bicycle. That's probably my favorite form of exercise. I really enjoy riding a bicycle. I just don't have a bicycle yet, so once I get a bicycle, then I'll try to figure out when is a good time to actually use it. N10's question is, do you know who is Joe? Well, the first Joe that comes to mind would be the current president of the US, Joe Biden, of which I don't know him personally. And I do, how many Joes do I know personally? I know Gunpla Joey, and I knew a couple of Joes or Joeys probably growing up, like in school. But currently, I think that's probably about it. Hybrid asked, what's your worst I fucked up during a build or review? So where I just messed something up. During a review, I don't know, there's been times, not really usually like during the recording the review, but has been times like where I'm editing the review and I find out there's like something wrong with the video, like the sound was messed up or the video file got corrupted or something like that. That happens from time to time. I feel like anybody that just works in video or like digital media production on a daily basis, that just happens every now and then. So you deal with that. As far as like a build though, where I like had like a paint react in a bad way or something like that, pretty much anything that's ever happened has been for the most part recoverable, where I'll have like a kit that I've painted and then I'm putting it together and I'll have a part like crack. That happens every now and then. It's relatively easy to fix, you know, hopefully, or easy enough to hide, in which case I don't really feel like it's a big like, oh, I really messed up. What would really be messing up is if it's like something that's not recoverable or very difficult or very time consuming to recover, like having your top coat fog all over your kit. Next question from Kenzo is a very apt question for this video. Again, he asked, what do you like to eat? Good introduction for our apple pie. This is our Kobo apple pie bread. I really like this kind of stuff when I lived in Japan and when I lived in Korea. Not so much in the more recent years because, you know, trying to watch my figure, getting older, you know, metabolism slowing down, can't just like eat this stuff every day. But I certainly have eaten many of these type of breads before. I do really like this. So it's basically like a pastry bread with like apple filling in it, like apple pie essentially. It's very American, right? Tastes exactly like I remember. I've probably eaten 100 of these before, but they're really good. So I like these. What else do I like to eat? I mean, pizza, probably my favorite food, but just got anything, nothing really too in particular. I don't know if there's really even any like group of food that I could say is like, I really love this type of food especially. I'm pretty not very picky when it comes to food. I can kind of just eat really just about anything. I think living in Korea, living outside of the US for a long time definitely helps to broaden my palette of things that I enjoy, tastes and different foods that I, you know, can eat comfortably and enjoy is stuff that I probably wouldn't have been exposed to if I just only lived in America. Paladino asked, so the gyms are produced in Jaburo, can they ole samba? I don't know. I don't know what ole samba is. I'm gonna guess that's a dance, just samba dancing. But can they, if the pilot's talented enough, I'm sure they could. Yes, actually. This is the kind of bread that, like I said before, makes for a really good breakfast. If you're just out on the go, on the way to work or something like that, you just pick one up from the convenience store. Or again, if you're traveling, you're like in Akihabara doing your shopping, you are feeling hungry, and you just want a snack, go to the convenience store and pick up something like this. It's a really good snack just to eat. But don't eat it while you're walking around outside. That is the #1 cardinal sin you can do in Japan, walking food while eating outside. I've actually gotten in trouble when I lived and worked in Japan. I actually got in trouble from my boss because somehow she saw me, or someone reported to my boss that I was eating while walking down the street during my lunch break, walking back to work from the convenience store. I was eating something walking on the road. It's a big no-no in Japan. I think that's kind of changing these days. I think people generally don't really care that much about it, quite as much as maybe they did before, but definitely there are some people that really don't like it, apparently. All right, not much left now. We just have the ramen and a couple of soda snacks, so I feel like we should try one of these out. It's the bubble soda ramune candy, and it looks like a pack of, but it's actually 3 of them in here packaged together, so you can just kind of rip it, take one out. Oh my god. Oh, what an experience. Oh my god. Okay. It just like, as soon as I started chewing that, and I guess it's like once it started getting wet with my spit, it just like explodes like a foam, like a super fizzy, foamy soda in your mouth. It just like explodes. It's like filling my mouth with foam. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like good or like a yummy candy, but what an experience. Wow. If you can find these, I mean, if you guys don't end up getting the box, but if you're just in Japan and if you come across these, try them, because I'm sure it couldn't cost more than a couple hundred yen. But yeah, what an experience. Okay, I'm gonna try this last one. Or maybe I should save this. Yeah, I'm gonna save this last one and break it in half and give the halves to my 2 kids and let them try that, because I think their faces are gonna be priceless. But Druta asked, what are your top 3 mobile suits you'd like to see in master grade form? Well, the first one that immediately comes to mind has to be the Hygog. I definitely would love to see a master grade of that. Next one would be Rosenzulu. Definitely would love to see a master grade Rosenzulu. I know one that would be probably on a lot of your guys' list would be the Kshatriya. Honestly, not really for me. If we were gonna get a 1/100 scale Kshatriya, I would actually prefer it as an RE100 kit for me personally. But in my number 3 spot, I guess I'm just gonna go with something just kind of random without thinking about it too much and say maybe like the Narrative Gundam C-Packs. I think would be a cool master grade. Maybe it's just because I enjoyed the high grade so much. Or, actually, let me revise that and say the Silver Bullet. The Silver Bullet would be one, and especially after getting the Mark V, we've got at least parts of the kit that could be made into the Silver Bullet, so like some parts of the frame of the Gundam Mark V that could be repurposed and used for the Silver Bullet or the Dovin Wolf as a master grade kit. Either one of those options would be great, honestly. Christopher asked, aren't you getting tired of Gunpla? I feel like this is an interesting question. The easy answer is no, I'm not, and I don't know if I ever will be. I mean, at this point, I don't know if I ever will be tired of Gunpla, because I still enjoy it, and it's something, I've been doing on a daily basis for years now. But this is a question that I know that Adam and I have talked about a number of times over on the USA Gundam TV channel. We do a live stream every 2 weeks answering a bunch of you guys' questions, so it's another great place for you guys to ask questions if you want. But yeah, the interest in Gunpla certainly has like a natural ebb and flow over times for a number of different reasons. I feel like for different factors of whether there's a popular anime series currently ongoing or not. In the case of this current moment, there's not really, so I feel like interest would be a little bit down just because there's not a weekly anime that people are following. And certainly another contributing factor at this current point in time would also be just availability. Just a lot of kits, Bandai's still putting out a lot of kits, but they're being bought up so quick, there's not a lot of availability for people out there just to casually come across it and just find something that they're interested in. I don't know, I think that probably makes a difference as to how much people are, you know, into it or not. All right, let's try our last candy here, Pero Cider, which, yeah, is a sucker inside of here that I think is probably gonna make a bit of a mess. Try to not make a mess with this. So we've got our sucker, or lollipop, whatever you guys call it, and a bunch of powdered sugar, which I guess is soda flavored, inside here. So again, it's like Fun Dip. Get it wet with spit, put it in the powder, and then you got your coated lollipop. Very similar to the other soda candy in terms of taste, obviously because it's soda flavored. But eating it in this fashion, honestly, for me, kind of annoying. I don't really like to eat candy in this way, so this is something that I would ever buy. I mean, like, this is something I think the kids are probably really into because they can just, you know, enjoy it. But yeah, just eating this, I feel like this and that previous candy are made of the same thing. Just that hard candy that exploded in my mouth is just like a super condensed form of this powder in here. You know, it's to a lesser extent, but it's having the same effect of like exploding, like foaming inside my mouth. It's crazy. And this is basically just sweet. Honestly, it doesn't really have much flavor on its own, so you kind of need the powder with it. But Matthew had the classic question here of what got you into this hobby. I got into this hobby like a lot of people my age through watching Gundam on Toonami when it was first on roughly 20 something years ago. And that's how I got introduced to Gundam and like anime in general, and Gunpla then through that. Alright, I'm gonna eat one more of these Kit Kats because they're so good, and take one more question here before I go and put some hot water in this ramen, and we will try that for the last thing for today's video. But Lorenz wanted to ask a question here. Lorenzo, I should say. He said, I think talking about mobile suit camouflage in real world correlation will also be an interesting argument. Talking about this with Aaron Simons or Mike Rinaldi, they're experts in their sector, and analyzing a real use camo motif for various environments like tanks mimicking nature, or hiding camos like World War II planes mixing their colors with the sky, night lights underside, or terrain from above, or maybe dazzle camo to disrupt the borders of the suit just like they did with ships in World War I and World War II. I personally find it interesting, also including the fact that during Napoleonic Wars, it was paramount to distinguish the soldiers between the warring factions, so they wore recognizable jackets. Germans in World War II painted the nose of planes in yellow for the same friend or foe recon reason, because it was also mostly close combat, just like mobile suits in a Minovsky particle-filled environment, just like Char. But being the radar is useless, the optical camouflage could certainly give seconds of advantage. What do you think about this big argument? Thank you in advance. It's the second question too. Geez, oh, so he had another question, I guess, maybe somewhere in here, and we'll maybe get to that in the next episode. But to summarize his question, what do I think about like the realistic nature of the use of colors and camouflage on mobile suits in like a kind of realistic war environment? And I think it's a very interesting question, and actually one that he name dropped Aaron Simons and Mike Rinaldi. I think those would also be two great people to talk to about this subject. But I actually have plans to, in the very near future, talk about pretty much this exact same subject with somebody else, but I think either one of those two guys actually might be a good person to talk to as well. But look out for that in the very near future, an interview kind of discussion episode where I'm going to have a guest on where we're going to talk about this topic kind of exactly, and other things related to it, but just sort of like realism in modeling, and especially for like sci-fi modeling. So I think it is a really interesting point to bring up, and it's something that you can work into your kits and kind of make your kits more interesting by the fact of using like real world kind of ideas into, you know, how you decide to paint and camouflage your kits. All right, so we got a strong dashi yakisoba here, and dashi, I think, is like the best way to explain dashi is it's sort of like a stock, like a chicken stock or beef stock. It is like kind of the closest thing as to what's dashi, I think, as far as I understand it. But again, I love the taste of yakisoba, so this takes 3 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and make some, and I'll be back in 3 minutes.
A few moments later.
Alright. Oh, kind of messed up and made it a little bit wrong because I didn't pay close attention to the pictures on the box here. That certainly doesn't stop it from smelling delicious. I will admit, I do love yakisoba, ramen, stuff like this, although I don't really like the instant ones, and I very rarely ever eat them, just because they taste good, but it just kind of at the same time feels like I'm eating nothing, because it's just so terrible for you. It's good. If you can get actual yakisoba, it's certainly a good substitute for that. Alright, so we'll just take a couple last questions here for today. What does it get you to be a judge in a foreign competition like the ROG contest? So I'm guessing he means like when like a foreign contest or just any contest ask for me to be a judge, what does it take for me to agree, as in like do they have to pay me or something or offer me any sort of compensation for me being a judge in a contest? And the answer is no. I don't think that I've ever even really been offered anything in compensation as far as I can remember. I mean, like when I went to the Philippines, that was kind of part of the deal of why they brought me over, and to Chile. So I've traveled to the Philippines, I've traveled to Chile to be a judge, and obviously they compensated me by paying for my travel and paying for my like room and board basically to go over there to be a judge, which was amazing. But if it's just like an online thing, basically if anybody ever asks me to do it, I just usually will almost always say yes, and I wouldn't ask for anything in return, money or anything like that. A lot of the times the contests, like judging a contest, doesn't take a terrible amount of time, so I don't really worry about it. I'm happy to do it as just a friendly service. Sometimes they do take a little bit longer to judge, and then at that time I do kind of feel like, oh, maybe I should ask for some money. But no, in all seriousness, whenever people ask me to help, I try to do my best to help people, whether it's judging a contest, whether it's appearing on their show if they have like a podcast or a YouTube channel, if they want to have me on for an interview or something like that. I always do my best to do what they ask. If they want me to have me on for an interview, I'll always say yes. If they want me to judge a contest, I'll say yes. So just if you ever are out there, if you have a YouTube channel or a contest or anything like that, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to help you guys out with that. Seraph had a kind of interesting question here. What is your least favorite thing from any Gundam media? So I guess this would be like Gundam games or anime or anything like that. One that is like particularly one that I really didn't like or something, and nothing really particularly comes to mind other than, I don't know, something really obvious answer like Gundam G Savior, for example, which I've tried to watch a couple times and I just couldn't get past like 5 minutes into it before I'm just like, I'm not going to do this to myself. I'm not going to subject myself. Even though the movie is not that long, I'm just not going to waste that much of my life just watching the movie just from seeing the first 5 minutes. That said, I think I probably should at some point actually watch the full thing just to at least say that I've seen it. But that would be the first thing that comes to mind. Other than that, I mean, like there's been games that I've tried that I just didn't really enjoy that much. But for the most part, most Gundam games haven't been like the best games out there, but they've been pretty good. They've been serviceable. I have tried a couple though that I just really couldn't get into at all. But these are going like way back. I want to say like there was this one on the Dreamcast that I played that I just really couldn't get into because it was just a very slow and clunky game. And if I remember it, I'll put something on the screen. But it was basically any game like that was like a little bit older and just like the really slow games where you're just like kind of trotting along and you see like an enemy Zaku and it takes you just like a few shots to blow it up, and there's just kind of not really much action really going on. Those tend to be a little bit more boring and not really very enjoyable. Alright, last question for today is going to be from someone with a very apt name here, G Self Verka Wen. Yeah, still a very pressing question indeed. But his question was, or her question, what's your favorite Plamo series? You seem to regard most things Kotobukiya pretty highly, especially Megami Device. I do love Megami Device, that's true. Which qualities make a kit appeal to you personally, but perhaps not the modeling community as a whole, other than plenty of option parts right then, for example. Anyway, yeah, good question. Just because there are definitely things that I like that I know not necessarily a lot of you guys who watch my channel typically like. Number one would be like the Megami Device, and just kind of, I would say, all Mecha Musume kits, and now that we have the Sosai Shoujo Teian line from Kotobukiya, it's just Musume kits. Stuff like that, I know not necessarily appealing to all of you guys or a lot of you guys, but it's stuff that I really like. I enjoy building those type of kits. I really enjoy the Mechatro kits. I know that those aren't quite as popular either. Just on a whole, just because they don't have an anime, they don't have as much exposure as Gundam, obviously, so they're not going to be quite as popular, but I really enjoy those kits. Machine & Krieger would be another one that I think is definitely growing in popularity over recent years here in the West, which is great. Probably thanks a lot to Lincoln's work, and I would also say, hopefully, maybe thanks to some of my videos showing off some different Machine and Krieger kits to you guys. I know there's not a whole lot of coverage of Machine and Krieger kits on YouTube in general, let alone in English, so hopefully you guys are getting more interested in that, because it's a series of kits. I wouldn't necessarily say a line of kits, because there's the Hasegawa kits and there's the Wave kits, so it's kind of hard to say they're both part of a single line, but they're both part of a single franchise, I guess we could say. And I do really love the Machine and Krieger kits, and they're a lot of fun, so hopefully you guys are giving those a try if you're interested in the designs as well. But yeah, a lot of stuff from Kotobukiya. The Frame Arms line I feel like is a pretty really highly established line in Kotobukiya, but I just don't feel like that a lot of people, at least a lot of you guys that watch my channel, I know some of you guys maybe have a couple of Frame Arms kits maybe, but I don't feel like there's really as much interest in Frame Arms as there should be, as to what would make sense in my mind, because I really like a lot of the Frame Arms designs. I know that the kits aren't quite as nice as like Bandai's Gunpla, and that may be a part of the reason why they're not quite as popular. And again, I think part of the reason is also just the fact that they don't have an anime base that they're based off of. So without those factors, I can kind of see why. But Frame Arms is another line that I really enjoy a lot, and I hope that a lot of you guys do as well. If you never have tried one, you definitely should. That's gonna be it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I enjoyed trying out all these different snacks. If you guys want to try out Tokyo Treat, of course the link will be down in the video description below, as well as the link for Sakuraco. If you want to check that out, you can use that link to sign up. That'll help me out, so thank you guys so much. If any of you guys are interested in trying them out, you can use the code ZAKU to save $5 off your first box as well. There's a lot more questions here, so we'll be doing a part 2 where I'll go through a lot more of the questions, and we'll go through all the snacks and everything here in the Sakuraco box for this month. You have it looks like June 30th, so you have until June 30th to sign up to get this box. This is the July box. Technically, I'm just getting it early because I'm getting it to share with you guys. But if you want to get this exact box with all these snacks in it, you can sign up before June 30th, and you can get that. So definitely check it out. I do actually really enjoy these boxes a lot. I really enjoy this booklet with all the information about not only the snacks, but the Japanese culture. It's honestly really good. So highly recommend it to you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching today's episode. As always, if you guys are looking to check out some Kotobukiya kits, Gundam kits, or anything else, a model kit related, you can check out USA Gundam Store. Like I said earlier, the link will be down in the video description. Check out all the cool stuff that we have here for you guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching the video, liking the video, commenting, subscribing. All of that is greatly appreciated. Until next time, have a great day, guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.